I don't know exactly how the shares between them are, but they seem to work in good conjunction, and they do a lot of work for companies that ship cargo of all kinds. And they also import products. For example, they import lots of beauty products from Turkey, lots of machinery from China, obviously,
Yeah.
and some appliances and utensils from Germany. So it's a
Mhm.
really, really interesting company that has many departments, not many, has a few departments: pricing, customs, logistics, and dispatch, and one more which I don't remember. So very, very interesting. I was thinking of you with this company. Maybe one day eventually you'd like to start a company like this, or join a company like this, or work in a partnership. It's very, very interesting company, Mickey.
Yeah, it sounds interesting. Yeah, that's great. So it's a company of transportation, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They do the logistics part for different clients. Obviously, both the ones that want to export and they don't want to go through the hassle of handling the documents and the shipping companies, the freight companies. So they want to. I mean, the first question that you ask is, "Do I need you?" And the answer is no. You don't need them. You can ship your own stuff with your own means, but sometimes it can be tricky. It can save you time. It can save you hassles and problems, hurdles.
Yeah.
So some people prefer to use freight forwarders.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you are familiar with them, but they are like the intermediary
Yeah.
between the customer and the logistics company.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of this, Mickey?
Yeah, as you mentioned, probably um, in a way they don't need them, but on the other hand, it can save you money and time. So in a way, I think
Yeah,
that it's better to have like a, how do you say, like a broker, like an inter.
yeah, that's a word. Yeah, a clearance broker, a customs.
Mhm.
It's a clearance broker, a product broker, customs clearance broker. Yeah, it helps you make the clearance easier and faster, and sometimes it can save you money. They coordinate transportation. Actually, here's some of the duties that they carry out, and let's see what you think of these ideas. I'm going to
Yeah,
share them with you in a moment. Some of the duties that they have. Let me put them here, and let's see what you think of these duties, and if you would hire them as a company that handles certain products. So here are
hmm,
they. So let's see the first one.
transportation coordination. Arrange the movement of cargo by land, sea, air, or rail. Select the most efficient and cost-effective shipping routes and carriers. Coordinate with trucking companies, shipping lines, airlines, and rail operators.
What do you think of this coordination of transportation, Mickey? Do you believe it can be useful, or when would it
Yes.
become unnecessary that you would do it by yourself?
Well, I think that's one of the reasons why people choose this type of brokers are because normally they have like the experience. They know how to make the procedures faster, and, and in occasions they know, for example, what are like the best routes or the accurate routes to move a cargo from one part to other. So,
Mhm.
so yeah, I think that in a way you save time, and in the long term, probably you can save money too.
Yeah, that's true. Very true. Very true. I don't think the management of documentation is very complex, but it can also save some time, in particular if some of the items are tricky to handle. For example, they were mentioning that some products, I know from a fact that drones, for instance, you need to specify clearly what type of product there is, what is the purpose, what is the origin, the different components they have. So the document management, what do you think about that, Mickey? And where can it be hard or tricky? In what type of product?
Well, as you mentioned, I don't consider that it's very hard, but if the same transportation company is doing for you, I think that is better because you can save money, and in a way, well, yeah, you can save money because instead of contract someone who does that, the same company is doing it for you.
Right. What is your understanding of these documents? What do they do? What are they?
Well, normally those documents are required to import something, right?
Mhm.
Normally they ask you for the origin. It has like all the customs documentation, obviously the invoices, and in a way, when you have everything in order, it shows that you are doing the importation process uh, carefully, and that you are really importing for a specific purpose, not just because you want to, in this case, purchase drones, and that's all. In a way, like it shows the origin and the reason why you need or you must have this product.
Right. Let's. I understand that you have been able to import or even export some products, haven't you?
Yeah, yeah. To be honest, I was doing like the obviously I know about the commercial invoice, the certificate of origin, but I didn't do all the process just by myself. I have people who supporting that. But yeah,
Okay. So, all right. It just seemed to me quite interesting because maybe in the future, or as a lateral alliance, you could have an ally, or you could work with them, or you could do something, right? It would add experience to your trading experience, trading career, commerce career, I think.
yeah, yeah. Of course.
Right. Well, then they have the customs clearance. What's your opinion about that, Mickey?
What's my opinion about customs clearance?
Yeah.
Uh, well, are important because in a way it shows that you complete with all the regulations that require. And obviously, you need to pay the taxes, duties, and are necessary too because you coordinate with the customs brokers, or if you're doing by yourself, you do it directly with the customs clearance.
Right. Have you ever faced import or export regulations which are hard to meet that you would say, well, yeah, I know what that is, but it's hard to meet? For example, in the case of the drones for this company, I know that sometimes it's hard for them to comply or not to comply to determine the harmonized tariff code and assign a specific number to a certain part of the device because it's in one piece and they want you sometimes according to what they say to break it down in different components. All right, this drone or this machinery has the different components, assign
Hmm.
a different tariff harmonized tariff code to each of them,
Hmm.
so it can become tricky. Have you faced a situation in which it is if difficult or close to impossible to meet certain import or export regulations, Mickey?
No, not to be honest. I understand, for example, in the case of drones, because there are a lot of small pieces, and as you mentioned, I think that you need to specify the origin of all of them, and yeah, it could make it like more tricky and requires more time too. But in my case, no, it was very easy to be honest. Um, yeah, probably is because normally the imports that I did were like little or small imports, not so many pieces, not so many components. So in a way, make it much easier.
I see. And were you able to import them without tariffs or taxes, or you had to do some duty to pay some duties, taxes, or tariffs for those products? I'm
Mm-hmm.
asking.
Well, for example, in the case of sneakers, something happened the like 2 weeks ago, and well, with Trump tariffs and all stuff, like things had changed a little bit.
Yeah,
Uh, and there's a person in the border that helps me to cross the products that I purchase. That what I do is that I purchase something on the United States, and then this person helps me to cross it to Mexico. Uh, but in this case, in the border were like more, let's say like
stringent, more strict.
more strict, yeah. And they opened almost all the packages that were crossing, and at the end, it's supposed that I paid everything, but but then he told me that he received a charge of it was the 19% of the total of the products that I did, and he was paying for 4,000 pesos extra for that. So I don't know. I think that it was because the things that I purchased were in the meantime when Trump imposed that. So in a way, he needed to pay more for that, and obviously, me and him, how to say this?
You had
Uh,
to cover that extra amount.
right. Yeah, exactly.
Extra,
Mhm.
4,000 pesos extra.
Yeah.
That's a significant number for some sneakers, but well, that's what they cost, right?
Yeah, I think that it was like it was the 19%. I remember because it appears like a little letter, and in this letter it specifies like it was like they put like excess of domestic products, something like that, and that's the reason why they charged that. But well, it was something that never happened until that moment. I
I
don't know.
see. Oh, that's really interesting. Really, really, really interesting. And these duties are imposed overnight by the president. That's what amazes me. And I still don't understand it, fully understand it. Can the president impose a tariff or any kind of duty on products? It doesn't have to go through a process like a senators, deputies, a chamber of commerce. Just the president has an occurrence and he decides on this and that. That much power do they have?
Exactly. Yeah. Actually, I was listening the news in the morning, not because I like to listen to news, but my dad normally the first thing that he does is turn on the TV and see news, watch news. And actually today Trump complete 100 days of this of his new government, and the approbation that he has at this moment is between the 40 to 42% of the total population. And they mentioned that it was like the lowest one in a in a president for the first 100 days. So not only us, I think that the same Americans um, are mad with them because I think that the most affected are them, to be honest. In my case, obviously, I purchase products from United States and it affects me, but the people who live there, it's it's much worse.
Yeah. What did you say was the worst level of approval for the what
Well, depending of the how is
source?
it of the source, but it was between the 40% to 42%.
Oh wow, that's really low.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's made lots of mistakes, several mistakes. I mean, some of the decisions that he's made, I would approve. I would say they're okay. For example, trying to to end the war both in Palestine and Israel, as well as in the Ukraine and Russia. I believe those are positive decisions. But some others like this trade war, that's silly, don't you think?
Yeah, exactly. And it is funny because I think that the one time in the class we saw that the first commercial partner from United States is China. So in a way, it's like, well, yeah, no, makes sense, right? Because they're imposing tariffs and all stuff, and at the same time, is your first business partner.
Allow your first business partner, exactly.
Yeah.
Not only that, but the largest foreign debt ever in history is the debt of the US towards China. Is the largest one historically ever. So imagine you owe a lot of money to this country, and in addition to that, on top of that, you impose tariffs which are outrageous, right?
Oh my god! But well, let's see. I think that he paused it. I think like 60 days or 90 days. I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, could be, but well, he wants to become sensational in a way, but I think it's backfiring. This policy is backfiring.
Yeah, me
Well,
too.
let's see what happens. All right, let's go to cargo insurance. And how important is this item? And have you seen it? Have you applied it? What's your experience with cargo insurance?
Well, arrange insurance coverage to protect goods in transit. Advise clients on appropriate insurance options. Yeah, normally when I purchase something or when someone is gonna send me something, I try always to insurance the merchandise, because has happened to me that I don't know if the carriers or what, but they stole the product, and then I remember one time that I purchased a pair of sneakers, and at the end I received an empty box just with paper inside of it.
Oh,
And to be
really?
honest, yeah, and I didn't receive the packages because normally you can detect that probably it's not, it doesn't have like weight, you know. But in that occasion, I didn't receive the package directly. So yeah, from then I normally try to always insurance all the merchandise. But yeah, it is important. Normally, what you do is, uh, depending if it's Mexico, you pay an extra, and it's not too much. For example, more or less, if the merchandise value is between 10,000 to 15,000, the insurance will be like 120 to almost 200 pesos. And in a way, I think that it values, because if you don't receive all the merchandise, you can lose more money.
In the prior, thank you, Mickey. In the prior case that you mentioned, where the box was empty, were you able to recover your money, or you lost the money?
Well, obviously, I reached them, and I call and I talk with them. In this case, was DHL, and in a way they like, how can I say this? They say that like they are free, of any situation in case that you don't pay the insurance, and what you receive is the 30% of the total value of the product. But obviously, you need to send them all the invoices, and 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 I remember that they asked me for pictures of the person delivering the package directly to their offices, and yeah, at the end, I think that it wasn't too much. I think that the pair of sneakers value was like 4,000 pesos, but at the end, I didn't receive more than 1,500. So yeah,
Oh, well, the lesson costs you 3,000 pesos.
yeah.
The experience. Well,
Hmm.
but I hope God willing, you've been able to get more out of that problem, right? So you've been able to
Yeah.
get more. So you
Hmm.
clearly overcame that situation.
Yeah, of course, I saw it like experience, right? Obviously, at the beginning, I was so sad and angry, but from then, I always try
Yeah,
to implement.
sometimes those lessons.
Are
Yeah, of course.
hard. Those lens are
Yeah, but
hard.
it's a great lesson. It's a great lesson.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because well,
it's a
just for
great
safe.
yeah.
In that case, it was just because I want to save like 100 pesos extra, and at the end, I lost more than that. So yeah, I always try to insurance every package that I received or that I sent to.
Yeah. You always want to ensure everything that you send, right?
Yeah.
Very good. Excellent. Okay, Mickey, great. That's great. Now, another aspect of the process which is important is warehousing and storage. What's your take on this item? How important do you feel it is, and what's your experience on these items, warehousing and storage?
Warehousing and storage provide or arrange warehousing services for temporary storage, manage inventory, and consolidation of cargo. I think that it's important more for big companies because in occasions uh, you need to have like time and space to receive all that merchandise. So in a way, if someone is uh, obviously charging you a tariff or a specific price to storage your products, in the meantime you are like making space for it or moving the merchandise that you still have like how to say like stock or stock. I think
Right.
that it's a good service.
Okay. So you want to store the merchandise. The merchandise. How do you choose the warehouse or the storage? How do you choose it? If you want to store merchandise, how do you choose the storage? How do you choose the warehouse where
Mhm.
you're gonna store them?
Well, in my case, to be honest, it's not very necessary. But I remember when I was working on the consulting company, there's a company almost in the highway that is called TAMS. I don't know if you have seen it, Centro Logístico del Bajío. But in that center, there's a company called TAMX, TAMX, and what they tell us is that they have like yeah, like huge places to storage products. And I remember that in specific components of Mazda cars, they storage there, and obviously they are paying for the space. And yeah, so I imagine that for big companies, it's important because in the cases they don't have like the enough space to storage all that components or pieces.
All right. Now, some components you don't need to store, right? Some others you need. You
Mhm.
need to find a storage to store the products. What products would you consider important to be able to store? You want to store these products. Which ones and why? Uh, Maybe fruits, vegetables in a cold chamber, or what other products would be important to store?
Well, yeah, in the food business, probably it is important to storage fruits, vegetables, but obviously those storage, I mean, that are much expensive because they require like certain conditions to maintain the product correctly. But yeah, as I told you, in the case of Mazda, I remember that were like, I don't remember how do you say in English, limpia parabrisas,
Windscreen wipers.
whisk,
Windscreen wipers.
windscreen wipers.
Windscreen
Windscreen
wipers.
wipers. Yeah, I remember that one part of the pieces were windscreen wipers, and I imagine that probably they storage there because they need to finish almost all the product and then added like these pieces. So probably for terms of space and time, they prefer to storage that in other places.
I see. All right. Now, when the product is in transit, you should be able to track it and to communicate with the client, with the supplier, with the provider, with everyone, right?
Mhm.
And are you aware or are you familiar with monitoring systems?
Yeah, yeah, the same I saw it in the consulting company. Normally, this cargo well, these transportation companies, uh, they put like GPS on the trucks, and they have like 24 hours. Uh, how can I say this? Monitoring
Monitoring system, right?
of the journey of the truck. It shows you when the truck is stopped. Obviously, in the same monitoring, it has like safest. I remember that they say like uh, safe stops, like stops that they say that are safe, for example, gas station or places to eat, and yeah, everything is monitoring 24 hours.
That's fabulous. There's there are places in the U.S. in the California highways. I know, I don't know if other places, but they call them rest areas. When
Hmm.
you've been driving for too long, let's say 3 4 hours, you
Hmm.
need to take a little rest. So these rest areas are awesome because they provide you with a shelter, with place where you can off your car and take a nap, go to the bathroom, maybe buy something. They're really, really convenient. Um, I haven't seen any of those in Mexico. I mean, you rest almost anywhere, but these are safe areas. What have
That's
you
right. Yeah, no, in Mexico I haven't I haven't seen them, but yeah, in this case, for the same, I think that for the delinquency they have like these safe stops, and you cannot stop until you go directly to the safe stop, because it has happened, and I remember that when I was in this well, with the consulting company, I realized of the danger of the of the people who's driving the truck, because normally they want to people wants to assault them or steal the merchandise, or put like dangerous how do you say this, like risk materials or drugs inside of the truck. And that's why, for example, they always have like two how do you say this,
two drivers?
well, in it's supposed that they must have two drivers depending of the large of the trip. But to be honest, in occasions, company saves money to just have one driver, and something awful because in a way, yeah, you need to. It's supposed that you need to protect the driver, but on the other hand, if the merchandise arrives sooner, that probably the date that they specify, they gives them like a bonus or money extra just to arrive things on time or before on time, and they don't really care about the safe of uh, yeah, of the driver.
Safety of the
Obviously, I'm not
trip.
gonna say all the companies, but many of them I realize of that.
Yeah, it's a pity. It's a pity because, as you say, they don't care too much about the safety of the driver, and depending on the length of the trip, for example, it can be what's the distance between Guanajuato and Laredo, more or less, 1,000 kilometers.
Yeah, I think so, more or less. I remember that many of those companies didn't want to cross the border, and there were in the past they did that, but now they were just like doing national trips, because they mentioned that if you want to cross the border, there's always going to be a cartel charging you money just to to pass to pass through it. So so yeah, it is very dangerous
To cross the border from Mexico to the U.S. or vice versa, or in both ways, is
in both
dangerous.
ways. In both ways,
Is that
yeah.
true?
To be honest, that business is very something that I realize is that very dangerous, and well, obviously they gain a lot of money, but it is not safe, and that's why many of them they prefer to just do like national trips with the routes that they know, instead of crossing merchandise through the border. Obviously, knowing that probably they can get more money, but the security that they have or what they are exposed is very high, and yeah, something that I know.
Wow, amazing, amazing. Do you think that the border authorities of both countries are colluded?
Yeah, of course. Hmm.
It's amazing. It's unbelievable. In other words, and then another question. Well, uh, do you think that because many people in Mexico, in particular, try to avoid paying taxes, the kidnapping, the cartels, and these systems to recover money is, I wouldn't want to say paramilitary, but it's a parallel body of the government to collect money?
um,
Hard to say, right?
it's hard to say. Well,
Yeah, because I was chatting with my brother the other day, and I
uh-huh.
said to him, "Look, Mexicans don't pay taxes very much and very often." And
Yeah,
I
that's
committed that sin. I was included in that group of people also. When I had the opportunity to to pay more taxes and I could reduce the payment of taxes, I would find ways to avoid paying taxes. But then I said to myself, well, maybe everyone is like just like me in many ways when I had the opportunity to avoid it. And but the government still needs money, or let's say that it's their, they want to collect money. And if they don't collect it from the taxpayers, how else can they do it? Well, they develop a parallel system to the government, a parallel body of kidnappers and cartels. Sounds fast, but is that not a possibility? What do you think? Just speculating, of course.
Yeah, there's always going to be a possibility. Um, I don't know. It is a mess, but something is true, and it's that not only this government, I mean that in many of them, or almost all of them, the same cartels finance the, how to say this, like the political
Campaigns.
campaigns. So yeah, probably it's not very. Sadly, it's not very crazy to think about it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a possibility. Okay, well,
Mhm.
we leave it open. Let's see another topic, which is negotiation and cost management. This company, the freight forwarders, have a they have a pricing department where they submit the quotations, the quotes. They provide forecasts. They do a deep analysis and they come up with rates and fees. What's your take? What's your opinion about this operation of pricing? How sensitive it is? Is it easy? Is it difficult? Does it give a? You think it can give you a big margin? It barely makes it. What's your comment about this, Mickey?
Negotiation and cost management. Negotiate rates with carriers and service providers. Offer cost-effective logistics solutions to clients. Well, yeah, of course, it's very important because you can have a bigger margin if you negotiate with the rates of the carriers. For example, something that I realized in the last 2 months, I imagine that Amazon negotiate with UPS and DHL. In context, normally when I send something directly to the to Amazon, to the different warehouses that he has, what that they have around Mexico, they charge me depending of the weight of the packages and the volume of the boxes and a specific price. And it wasn't very expensive, to be honest, in comparison that if you go directly to DHL or UPS to send something. More or less, it was like 150 pesos um, for a box of almost 20 kilograms. And I don't know, probably between uh, 50 centimeters. Imagine a square box is 50 centimeters per side. And now the last, what I saw is that they reduce the amount of money that costs now reduce considerably. Now the same box it charged like 60 pesos. So
Jeez.
so in a way they I imagine that they negotiate with these companies. And for me as a seller is better because uh, yeah, those 100 pesos in volume it's something significantly. But yeah, I think that is the same negotiation and the cost management.
All right. Yeah. Well, it's common that companies talk to each other and determine fixed rates for different services. So the freight service is not an exception, I don't think.
Exactly.
Yeah, let's see. There's a couple of examples in which a freight ended up in a problem or a massive problem. Let's see some examples that I retrieved and let's see about them. We have the Beirut port explosion. Let's read about it, please, and see what happens here.
Yeah. Beirut port explosion, 2020, Lebanon, caused improper storage of 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate in a warehouse. Impact: over 200 deaths, thousands injured, massive damage across Beirut. Freight lesson, critical importance of hazardous material handling and documentation in port logistics.
What do you think about this, Mickey?
Yeah, well, I imagine that for save money, they didn't do totally what they needed to, and they didn't have like the probably uh, like the education or the knowledge or how to manage these hazardous materials, and obviously the consequence was horrible. To be honest, I don't know about this explosion.
How do you determine if a material is hazardous or not? For example, if you're gonna, so I was watching a short TikTok video the other day
Hmm.
about care that you must have with certain products that are in your car. For example, batteries. If you have a battery, you shouldn't leave it in your car when it's very hot because then it can cause an explosion. Some plastic containers, you shouldn't leave it in the car because they release some type of smoke that can damage the seats and even cause an explosion if it's subject to a very high pressure. Uh, how do you determine which materials are hazardous?
Hmm. Well, there are different ways to determine it. Um, for example, I'm gonna say another example of Amazon. In my case, there's a program called ASMAT, and it's like, in few words, this program gives you like the chance to sell products with possible. Well, they mention dangerous materials, and they put like perfumes because perfumes has alcohol. So in a way, you need to be part of this program, inform about the regulations that you need to have as a seller to being part of this program and all stuff. And yeah, one of the products that they mentioned that has like these hazardous materials are perfumes. You cannot sell perfume as a normal seller of Amazon if you don't have passed for this program before. In this case,
That's
because it contains alcohol.
because it contains alcohol. All right, that's very, very interesting. So some programs have a list of products that can be dangerous or hazardous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are other ones that probably are like products of the skin. You need to always being aware of all the ingredients that the product has. And for example, if it is not according to the coffee, I think there is coffee price,
Coffee
you
prison.
cannot sell it. And it is funny because in occasions I have seen that there are products that sells in United States. I think that United States is what's the company that regulates this?
FDA,
FDA, I think.
FDA.
Yeah, FDA. And in occasions, you cannot sell like the same product here in Mexico, and vice versa. In occasions, the FDA recognize an ingredient or material like dangerous, and in occasions, Coffee Priest doesn't it, and vice versa. So yeah, it's interesting.
It is right. It is. It is. There's another case in 2021 in Sri Lanka. It is about pearl fire and sinking. Let's read about it, Mickey, and discuss it, please.
Yeah. Cause Fire caused by improperly declared nitric acid cargo. Impact: total loss of vessel, oil and chemical pollution, destruction of marine ecosystems. Freight lesson: importance of proper cargo declaration, emergency response preparedness.
Right. How do people prepare for emergencies? Do you think they have procedures like in case of this problem, we'll respond in this manner? And not only something like they did a couple of days ago in Irapuato, and I don't know if it was in the whole nation, AIMS had this, how do you call this? Where you have what's the word? Rehearsal. You have a rehearsal,
Mm-hmm.
right? You get ready to prepare for in the case of an emergency.
Mm-hmm.
You do a mock-up,
Yeah.
a mock-up to be ready for the tragedy for an emergency, an earthquake, a flood, a drought, an earthquake, etc. Right? Do they have do they sh- do should they have this type of processes or procedures to be ready in case of an emergency? What do you think?
Of course, they should have like this knowledge and experience uh, of know how to react in this case, in this type of cases, because you never know. And obviously, like being transparent too, because in this case I see that that were like not a complete declaration of the materials um that this product, or I don't know what was, contains. And yeah, it's a mess.
Nitric acid.
Nectas.
That sounds like very dangerous. If it exploded, it should have been dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And the looks like the ship sank in Sri Lanka. All right. And they were not ready to, or they were not prepared to respond efficiently to the emergency. So loss of the vessel. All right. There's another one, the Tianjin port explosion in 2015. Let's read about it, Mickey, please. Can we?
Yeah, Tianjin port explosions, 2015 in China, caused illegal storage of dangerous goods, including ammonium nitrate, in a freight warehouse. Impact: 173 deaths, extensive infrastructure damage, environmental harm. Freight lesson: need for strict regulatory compliance in warehousing and forwarding of dangerous goods.
Well, what do you think of this? Why people, even in China, I mean, you would imagine that there are strict country with regulations, and even so, they hide it or they don't declare it, or they have an illegal storage of dangerous goods. Why do they do that?
Well, I would say that to save money. I imagine that normally these type of products require other type of storage, probably an storage that contains certain um, yeah, like filters to storage this um, well, these components, or these, how can I say, these
Materials.
materials, yeah, these materials correctly. And in occasions, well, people try to avoid to pay that. And I would say that they uh, how do you say this, they can like pay money probably for the government to try to hide that. And well, the consequences are here more
They
than,
bribe government officials.
yeah.
Wow, the bribe must be significant because bribing a government official is also forbidden, and for the government official to take money, it can cost him his career, right?
Yeah, what I imagine that it is very possible.
Could be, yeah, could be. Um, is it much more expensive to pay for dangerous materials than for regular ones? Is it like double, threefold, fourfold? How much more expensive is it to store dangerous materials than it is to store regular materials?
To be honest, I don't know, but I imagine that, well, the same storage places most require, as I mentioned, certain features that probably are expensive and they require like maintenance. Obviously, people who is in charge of that with the knowledge of know uh, how to manage correctly these materials. So yeah, I imagine that it's much expensive.
All right, very interesting. There's another one in Napoli grounding in the United Kingdom. Let's read about it, Mickey, please. Can we?
Mhm. Cause: structural failure led to the vessel being grounded to prevent sinking. Impact: containers washed ashore. Environmental and cargo losses. Freight lesson highlights the vulnerability of container ships and the value of cargo tracking and insurance.
Right. What do you think about this?
Mm, well, yeah, I think that uh, so many times people just focus on the profit that you can get, or to receive the product um, as as fast as possible, and they don't pay attention to this little how do you say, the these little parts that really requires attention. in occasions probably you can save money not insurance your merchandise, but in the case that you lost it, well, you can lost everything. So yeah.
Right. You should be able to maintain the container ships, and also when you insure the cargo, okay, one thing is to be able to recover the money, but the other thing is to prevent the loss, right? It-
Yeah.
with the insurance, you say, well, if I lose the cargo, I can recover the money. But how do you give safe maintenance to a product, to the cranes, for example, using safe lugging jacks to lift the merchandise? How do you make sure that the containers are in good shape, in good condition? That requires good maintenance and is not always there, right? The same happens with aircrafts. Sometimes, I mean, one thing is to have the insurance, the other thing is to have a safe aircraft, right? It's not
Yeah.
the same thing.
Hmm.
And I would prefer to that the airplane is safe rather than just having, okay, I have an insurance of $1 million. Well, yeah, but if you die, you
Yes.
die.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, giving proper maintenance to the different components of these freighters is tricky, don't you think?
Yeah, it is because, mm, well, now that you mentioned the case of the example of the aircraft, I think that what is important is to always uh, put safety first, not only thinking about the profit or not only thinking about the money that you can save, not insurance, your uh, how say this,
Your
your
goods?
ships, your goods, yeah, whatever. I think that's the most important is safety, and yeah, we can see in those cases that sorry, oh my god, sorry.
Bless you, bless you, bless you, bless you.
Thanks. Yeah, we can see with these examples the importance of not putting safety first and the consequence that it could have. Uh, Hundreds of deaths just for save probably a little bit of money and to not do the correct maintenance of uh, yeah of the transportation or of the materials that they have, the storages.
Right, yeah, that's true, that's true. And let's see the last one, which was in 2013 in Canada, Lac Megantic rail disaster. Let's read about it, Mickey. Can we please?
Mhm. Like Megantic Rail Disaster 2013, Canada. Cause unattended freight train carrying crude oil derailed and exploded. Impact 47 deaths. The explosion of Downton Lake Megantic. Freight lesson demonstrates risks of hazardous material transport by rail and the importance of safety protocols.
All right, this sounds really interesting, but uh, a train that derails is hard to see nowadays. Well, I don't know how hard it is to see, but it's impressive that a train can derail with oil. So how should they go? And I've seen trucks that have accidents in highways, um, and very often, most often than not, is the owners of the company are to blame. I'm going to explain myself. If you tell a truck driver that he has to make 10 hours to reach Laredo, when the normal time to get there is 14 hours, you're asking him to save 4 hours in a 14-hour trip. In other words, to cut 4 hours.
Mhm.
And that's gonna that what that means is that he has to make no stops. No, I mean, he has to make almost 30-40% higher speed, take as many risks as possible, just because somebody in the warehouse arrived late or fell asleep or didn't complete the shipping and the palletizing on time. And I saw that myself in
Mhm.
the in this company where they produced cilantro and onions, not onions, parsley, chard, and spinaches. They ship
Mhm.
them to the US sometimes. And I saw that sometimes the packers of the cilantro were late or they didn't finish the task, or maybe the boss asked them to do many, many, many boxes more than the capability could afford. And so what he told the driver was, "You need to be in Laredo at 7 o'clock in the morning." He says, "But it's 7 o'clock. I cannot make 10 or 12 hours. I need 14 or 16 hours." No, no, no. You need to be there in 10 hours. So imagine they put a lot of stress, they put a lot of pressure on the driver. What do you think? Have you seen this?
Yeah, unfortunately, I saw it. Normally, the same companies require like the product at a specific time, ignoring all the process before that, and probably knowing that the reason why they are late was for something external of the driver, of course, and they put all the responsibility to the driver, and it is not how can I say this?
His fault?
Yeah, well, apart of that is not his fault. I think that is it is injustice, you know.
Unfair. It's unfair. Yes.
Unfair, yeah, that was the word. Sorry. Yeah, it is unfair because starting that probably this person don't have like the knowledge to understand the reason they are demanding more. The the salaries are bad. All the risks that this person has during the trip are are always there, and they are always like demanding more and more and more. And yeah, that's why we have seen cases where the driver fall asleep and cause a tremendous accident, and it's for the same reason, because the people who is in charge of manage the times and manage the routes, they don't care about the driver, and the consequences are there.
Right. What do you think should the answer be in order to prevent or reduce at least all these maladies, all these problems, Mickey?
Well, people must be prepared. Uh, for example, well, in the consulting company, we're more focused on city path, but we saw that in many cases the driver is not like enough prepared to deal like with this type of situations that could occur during the trip. Could be like the delinquency, or but probably he's feeling tired. Okay, I know that I can't stop in these specific places. Many occasions I saw that they're not enough prepared. That they're just like, okay, you're welcome to work. This is the route, and good luck. And you need to be there at this time. And they don't
Right.
do rehearsals on yeah, of these possible situations that could happen in during the trip.
Yeah. So, do you think you can foresee or prevent those situations? You can make a forecast. You foresee what the event can be, and take measures to prevent them or to reinforce them in case they're positive. What do you think people can do?
Yeah, of course. For example, something that is good is the safe stops. In a way, I think that it is better to give like, I don't know, 30 minutes, 1 hour of rest to the driver, instead of impulsing this person to be at this hour, at that specific hour, and then I'm gonna uh, give him a bonus of, I don't know, 1,000 pesos or 2,000 pesos just for being in time, knowing that the time that he has is very short to complete that. And that's why we normally see in the highways truck drivers that drives like crazy, but it's for the same reason. A part of that, we know that in many cases they consume other substances to stay awake, because it's very hard to not to drive, but to stay driving for a long period of time, and for many highways, and it's stressful too. So that's why they normally, not all of them, but I mean that many of them consume this type of drugs to maintain alert.
Right, to stay alert. Yeah, that's very important. Great comment, Mickey. Thank you very much. There's been also a few success stories where you have the challenge of a complex delivery for many reasons. One of them can be that for example, in the case of the Airbus wing transportation, that was a very successful story. because they had to move through narrow French villages roads, French village
Mhm.
roads. Let's read about it, Mickey, please. The number two, Airbus A380 wind transport, please.
Mhm. Airbus A380 wind transport ongoing Europe. Challenge transporting massive A380 wings from the UK to the final assembly line in Toulouse, France. Success: multimodal logistics using ships, barges, and specially designed trucks to maneuver through narrow French village roads. Impact: on-time delivery of oversized aircraft parts for assembly. Lesson: meticulous route planning and custom equipment enable movement of extremely large freight.
Yeah, because you cannot damage the wings. Those are very sensible parts. It's not like, well, it got a little bump here and bump there, right?
Yeah.
If you harm, if you damage a wing of an aircraft, it can cause a massive damage in the flight. So you need to be very, very meticulous when you freight those. So how do you imagine they did it? What kind of scouting process they had before shipping this to Toulouse in France?
Well, they mention here, and is the importance of planning uh, when they know specifically when they know how
Yeah,
is.
planning, but also, do you think they had to do some scouting? Yes.
I couldn't hear you, teacher. Sorry.
No, I'm sorry. When you want to do a tricky shipment, what do you think is the first thing they do? When, for example, they have to go through forests, villages, what do you think is a challenging situation here?
Well, you need to have like the a specific truck to to pass through those routes. You know, is I think that you need to have like a like a truck that could handle with this uh, yeah, with these routes.
Right. But probably you need to first, I would say, take a look. It's in the south of France. Look, you had to cross most of France. And what people did in the logistics department of Siemens when I was there, working there is they went to the place, to the site as scouts. They were scouts and they saw, oh, there is a tricky bridge here. There is a power line. There is, these are the obstacles. So they navigated the route in by car, by truck, whatever, and then
Mhm.
they made a diagnosis of the hard spots they had to cross or go around in order to have the clearance of the transformer. It was a 5.5 meter transformer, 5.5 tall meter transformer.
Wow.
So in the case of wings, imagine it's not the tall, but how long they are and be able to. I mean, how long is an Airbus 380 wing? How long would that be? Let's see. Length of an Airbus 380 wing. What's the length?
Mm, mm, mm. Um, the A380 is the largest and heaviest passenger aircraft in the world. It is 73 meters long, 24 meters high, and has a takeoff weight of up to 560 tons.
Right, but just the wing, Mickey. How wide is the wing? Or what's the wingspan?
Mm-mm.
Actually, it says the wingspan of the Airbus is longer than the aircraft itself. The wingspan is 80 meters and the length is 72. Let me show you
No,
this.
yeah, that's true. I saw it here.
Right, it's amazing, right?
29.8 meters. It is also, yeah, almost 80 meters.
80 meters. But let's say that they ship just one wing, so the wings got to be like 40 meters, right? Let's
Mhm.
say roughly
Yeah,
one wing. So imagine that you ship something of 40-meter long along a country that has forests, small villages. Should be tricky, don't you think?
yeah. I don't know. I don't know how to imagine the truck that does that.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's just for final assembly. It's not
Mhm.
that. Yeah, it's for final assembly. Wow, that's impressive. All right, that'd be interesting too. I'm gonna look for a video eventually about this because it looks
Yeah.
really, really interesting. How to ship a wing that's 40-meter long, right? Okay. And the final one is number three, Antarctic Research Station
Mhm.
resupply. Let's read about it, Mickey. Can we please?
Yeah. Antarctic Research Station resupply. Annual Antarctica. Challenge delivering food, fuel, and scientific equipment to remote stations during a narrow weather window. Success. Freight forwarders work with national programs like the British Antarctic Survey to coordinate icebreakers ships and airdrops. Impact enables continuous scientific research in the most remote place on Earth. Lesson precision logistics and contingency planning can overcome extreme environmental challenges.
Yeah. Have you seen icebreaker ships? What do you what do you think of these? Are are they cheap? Are they cheap? Easy to operate? What's the challenge with those? Let's see. What do you think?
Um,
Here are some. Here's
yeah, I think that those icebreaker ships obviously are ships, but yeah, can break the ice at the moment that they are um, transporting, right?
Yeah, I believe that, well, their main duty is to break the ice, but also I believe they can transport oil or other fuels, I think, I would imagine. Look, they look like monsters, don't they?
Yeah. Wow.
Impressive. Yeah, their capacity to break the ice, imagine. What do you think?
It's very interesting, and yeah, how the technology evolves to that, right?
Yeah, to that extent, even to be able to break the ice in
Hmm.
these regions like the Arctic, I would imagine in Siberia, in Inuvik in the north of Canada, various countries.
Alaska.
Alaska, yeah. Well, it's amazing, Mickey. The evolution of technology can reach groundbreaking areas like ice breaking, for example.
Mhm. Like icebreaker chips. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, exactly. Um, it is very interesting, um, and yeah, in occasions I like to analyze how we have evolved in technology in a short period of time in comparison uh, with the history, right? That probably in the last, what, 100 years, a little bit more probably. The evolution of technology is it's amazing.
Yeah, it is. It is. That's very true. And almost in every sense, right? In logistics, in airspace, in medicine, almost in every field, there's been groundbreaking events of technology that have helped us evolve and have, a, in quotation marks, better life, right?
In quotation marks, but yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, Vicky. Well, let's call it for now, and we maybe have another session maybe next week because look, I've been very busy, and I know that maybe you too. So we get together again maybe next week, Mickey. Would that be
Yes,
okay?
sure. No problem. Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned that you were busy. That's why I sent you a message to see if you can have the class. But yeah, if you can, the next week will be great.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. All right, Mickey. Good talking to you as usual. Take care and see you next week. Enjoy your week.
Thank you very much, teacher. Take care and yeah, enjoy your week. See you.
See you. See you. Take care. Goodbye.